everyone, welcome back to my class. This is Rumana Ali. I hope you all are doing well. We were discussing about the chapter excretory products and their elimination, and in this chapter we have seen the different topics like about the excretory organs, excretory system, the process of urine formation, and we have also seen the mechanism of urine formation. We have also learned about the different solutions for the kidney failure patients, like about kidney transplantation and about hemodialysis. Now in today's class, let us see the different characteristics that is shown by the urine. So urine which is produced in the human body, in a day he or she can produce 1 to 1.5 liters. So 1 to 1.5 liters of urine can be produced by a human body in a single day. This is the normal range. This is the normal range of urine that can be produced by a human body. When we see the pH of urine, then it should be acidic. That means it should maintain 6 pH. Whenever the pH of urine is 6, that means it is totally normal. The next one is color. If you see the color, then it will be yellowish in color. This color of urine is due to the presence of some pigments like urochrome. So urochrome is a pigment which is released by the small intestine. Firstly, in the spleen is a part. So in this part, bilirubin and biliverdin are the two different pigments that are formed. After the formation of these pigments, it can be sent into the liver. These bilirubin and biliverdin are the pigments that are combined with the bile juice and helps in making the consistency of the bile juice or helps in giving the color to the bile juice. Now, these pigments, when they mixes up with the bile, it is transferred to the small intestine. When it enters into the small intestine, then it can be given to the kidneys in the form of another pigment, that is urochrome. As the urochrome is present in the collecting duct, the urine which is present, it will show the yellowish color due to the presence of a pigment called urochrome. The next is odor. So urine has a specific odor because of the substance like ammonia. As the ammonia is released in the form of urine, it has some odor due to the release of ammonia. Urine that passed in a day, it is 25 to 30 gram per day. If we calculate the amount of urine that is passed by our body in grams, then it should be 25 to 30 gram. So these are the different characteristic features of our urine that can be seen in a normal human body. But if these characteristic would get disturbed, if they do not show, if the urine do not possess all these characteristics, then it will lead to abnormality in the human excretory system. Now let us move to the next topic, and our next topic is role of other organs in excretion. We have seen that kidneys are the primary excretory organs that helps in carrying out the process of excretion. Not only kidneys, there are some other body parts that are involved in the elimination of waste material. So that organs are lungs, liver and skin. Lungs, liver and skin are the accessory excretory organ that also helps in the elimination of waste out of our body. What type of waste can be eliminated by these organs? Let us see. So lungs are the excretory, they are acting as excretory organ as they are eliminating 18 liters of carbon dioxide per day. We can remove 18 liters of carbon dioxide with the help of lungs. If the carbon dioxide accumulates in our body, then so many disorders, it leads to so many disorders, and that disorders can be prevented by the elimination of carbon dioxide. So in the elimination of carbon dioxide, lungs are acting as an accessory excretory organ. Not only carbon dioxide, but water can also be removed out of our body, that too in the form of water vapor with the help of our lungs. And this water vapor can be eliminated by the lungs in a large quantity, especially in the dry climates. So this is how the carbon dioxide and some amount of water can be removed out of our body with the help of our lungs. The next accessory excretory organ is our liver. Liver is the largest gland of our body. We all know that it is acting as the largest gland of our body. So it also helps in the process of excretion. So what are the different ways that can be excreted out with the help of liver? So liver is the largest gland that helps in the decomposition of hemoglobin. after the lifespan of the red blood cells, when it moves to the spleen, at that time, in the spleen, certain pigments are formed like bilirubin and biliverdin. That pigments are allowed to move into the liver. When they comes into the liver, then they mixes up with the bile. That bile pigments are nothing but bilirubin and biliverdin. So, most of the hemoglobin decomposition can occur in liver also. And it leads to the formation of bile pigments like bilirubin and biliverdin. These bile pigments are mixes up and they form bile juice. Once the bile is formed, then that bile juice can be utilized by our body for the process of digestion. Besides this, it also excretes a lot of cholesterol, vitamins and drugs through bile. So these different substances like cholesterol, vitamins and drugs can be eliminated from our body through bile with the help of our largest gland called liver. This is how liver is also acting as an excretory organ. Skin can also act as excretory organ and it can also help in the process of excretion. When we talk about this excretory organ, then it shows two glands. Two main glands are present in our skin. One is sweat glands and the other one is sebaceous gland. Sweat glands are the glands that secretes different substances in the form of sweat. It secretes watery fluid in the form of sweat, and through this sweat it can release out, it can eliminate the different waste substances like NaCl can be removed out, urea can be removed out and lactic acid can also be eliminated from our body through sweat. That is, in the form of sweat, we can eliminate NaCl, urea and lactic acid. This is how the sweat glands are helping in the process of excretion. So, sweat glands are nothing but the glands which are present in the skin, and these glands secrete sweat. That sweat, when comes out of our body, it helps in the elimination of NaCl, urea and lactic acid, and these substances can be eliminated in the form of watery liquid called sweat. The next gland is sebaceous gland. Sebaceous gland is also a skin gland and it also acts as an excretory gland because it secretes sebum, and in the form of sebum we can eliminate a lot of waste substances like we can remove sterols, hydrocarbons and waxes in the form of sebum. And sebaceous gland, as they secrete sebum, it can also help in providing oily protective covering over our skin. This is how all these organs are helping in the process of excretion. They are playing a crucial role in carrying out the process of excretion and in eliminating different waste products out of the human body. So, besides kidneys, lungs, liver and skin are also the important excretory organs. They help in the elimination of different waste products in different forms. We have seen the characteristic features of our urine, and if that characteristic features are not maintained by the fluid, by the excretory material that can be excreted out of our body, then it leads to abnormality. And abnormal urine causes a lot of disorders. One such disorder is glycosuria. So now we are going to discuss about excretory disorders. The first one is glycosuria. Glycosuria means the condition where the glucose level gets increases in urine. The release of glucose in urine can be termed as glycosuria. Why it happens? What is the reason? It is due to the diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus means if the sugar level in our blood gets increases by some reason, then it causes a disorder. Then it leads to diabetes mellitus, and when a person is suffering from diabetes mellitus, then it leads to an excretory disorder called glycosuria. That means glucose can be released in the urine of that person. So this happens due to the increased level of the sugar in our blood. When the sugar level gets increases in our blood, automatically that more sugar will be forwarded in the filtrate that is formed in the nephron. So when you see this diagram, look at this diagram. When blood, after the glomerular filtration, when it enters into the Bowman's capsule, along with the waste material like urea and water, glucose and some other useful substances will also be present in the filtrate. When this filtrate enters into the PCT, at that time reabsorption would happen. Due to the reabsorption, whatever the useful materials, useful products are present in the PCT, it can be reabsorbed by the blood. But now in this condition, when the person is suffering from diabetes mellitus, when the sugar level is more, when the glucose is more in this filtrate, at that time, whole glucose cannot be reabsorbed by the blood. Some of the glucose will be there in the filtrate that can enter into the other regions of the nephron. That means it will go into the loop of Henle, and from that it enters into the DCT, and from the DCT it will transfer into the collecting tube where the urine formation takes place. So in such a way the glucose will also be there in the urine, and PCT is not able to absorb all the glucose. Due to this, the glucose will move forwarded in the different regions of the nephron, and finally it enters into the collecting tube where the urine formation takes place. This is how the glucose in urine can be seen, and the condition when the glucose is released in urine, that condition is called as glycosuria, which is not a normal condition. It's an abnormality that can be seen in the human urine due to the release of glucose. Okay, another disorder is ketonuria. Ketonuria means formation of presence of ketone bodies in our urine. This condition is called as ketonuria. Now what happens while fasting? When we are fasting at any time, at the time, from where do we get the glucose? From where do we get the energy in our body? So during fasting, we can get the glucose from a substance called glycogen. Glycogen is a substance that is formed in our liver. It is stored in the liver. This glycogen acts on the liver to release glucose. So if there will be no glucose present in our body, then this glycogen acts on the liver and it stimulates the liver to release the glucose. Then this glucose can be used up by our body to do different tasks. But if this glycogen is used up, after the glycogen is used up, then what are the different substances that helps us to get the glucose? They are nothing but our lipids. Lipids and fats that are stored in our body. These lipids and fats can be used by our body in order to produce ATP. So energy molecule can be produced by the utilization of lipids also. And during the formation of ATP, by the utilization of lipids, ketone bodies are produced. And these ketone bodies that are produced during the ATP formation, it can be released out of our body in urine. So the presence of ketone bodies in urine can be termed as ketonuria. This is also an excretory disorder. Our next disorder is hematuria. Hematuria means blood in urine. Whenever we see the blood that is there in the urine, which makes the urine pinkish or reddish in color, then that condition is called as hematuria. Now what happens? Why the blood is released in the urine? It is because of the inflammation of glomerulus. When we talked about the structure of glomerulus, at that time I told you that some holes are present and we call that holes as fenestra. These holes are very small that they can allow the passage of only urea, water and some other substances, but it restrict the passage of some proteins and RBCs. But in this abnormality, due to the inflammation of glomerulus, as soon as the glomerulus gets swells, the fenestra found in the glomerulus, it will also becomes bigger in size. So as soon as the fenestra becomes bigger in size, along with the waste products, RBCs would also comes out of this glomerulus and it can be released out in the urine. This is how we can see the blood in urine due to the release of RBCs because of the size of fenestra which gets bigger. So as the fenestra becomes bigger in size, the RBCs, red blood cells which are present in the filtrate, it can easily enter into the Bowman's capsule, and from the Bowman's capsule it will be reaching the collecting tube where the urine formation takes place, and in the urine the blood will also release. So whenever the blood is released in the urine, we call that condition as hematuria, and hematuria can be caused due to the glomerulonephritis. Glomerulonephritis is a term used to define the inflammation of glomerulus. Whenever the swelling takes place in the structure of glomerulus, that condition is called as glomerulonephritis, and this condition leads to a disorder called hematuria, which is nothing but the release of blood in urine. So this is how the different disorders can be seen in a human body due to the abnormality in the release of urine, or due to the abnormality that can be seen in the features of our urine. So here the chapter ends. I hope it's clear to you. Meet you next class. Goodbye.